please welcome for the first time at Tell It, Megan Hayes.
Hey, y'all. Okay. By the time I was born, all of the cool roles in the family were taken. My sister was the rebellious drug addict, so apropos of the 70s. She even got kicked out of a fancy pants private school for selling drugs. My brother, the angry recluse, who in high school was the drummer in a punk rock band called Lick the Blade. He rarely spoke, and honestly, I couldn't blame him. He probably had it worse being in the family, being the only boy with John Hayes as a role model and a father. Growing up in the Hayes household was painful for everyone involved, probably mostly so for my father, John Hayes himself, because the broken raising the broken rarely results in a success story. And when I came along on a blistering hot Sunday in Georgia in July of 1973, the family unit was, well, pretty much a shit show. So I took the only role that I knew how to take, and that was the angel. I was determined to be so good that no one would even know I was there. Oh, I'm sorry. Was I breathing? Oh, I will never do that again. You know, I kind of wish that I'd been more of a punk-ass dick rather than striving to constantly people please in a world where the rules to the game were ever changing, because I am nothing if not a rule follower. And when someone doesn't follow the rules, oh, the injustice. But you know, it didn't really get me very far, except, well, I'm super nice. And I take a good walking over very, very well. But I didn't know what else to do, except try to be as perfect as I possibly could 24/7, 365, which, in case if you were wondering, is exhausting. And for who? A man who held his expectations to godly heights. My dad was a Southern Baptist preacher. He was actually raised primitive Baptist, the son of Great Depression-era tenant farmers in rural Alabama. Primitive Baptist, don't drink, don't dance, no musical instruments in church, no Christmas trees. They were considered pagan. I mean, Christmas trees actually technically are pagan. But my dad had been known to enter a Christmas party and announce to the host, "Your Christmas tree's pagan." Which is a real fun way to make an impression at any holiday gathering. So John Hayes felt that his switch to just plain old Southern Baptist was this giant liberal leap. It wasn't. We attended the Northside Drive Baptist Church in Atlanta, Georgia. I found it all rather boring, which went over really well at home. I mean, I would rather play with my Smurfs or my Cabbage Patch Kid named Hilda, who had hair the color of pink champagne. Looking back, I kind of wish that my dad had been more of an evangelical-style minister, impassioned and loud, always conjuring his congregation to shout amens and mm-hms, or even snake handling or speaking in tongues would have been so cool. But he was dry, boring, full of bad church jokes, which was worse than bad dad jokes. Every week, I was given a $1 allowance, and the moment that cool cash went into my excited hands, my dad would whip out a church envelope and make me put my newly found money into it for the offering plate, the entire dollar. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't you only supposed to give 10% of your income to charity? Because 100% seems like a bit much. But that's what Dad expected, and that's what I did. See, being the angel in the family sucked ass. In 4th grade, when everyone was asked what they wanted to be when they grew up, ballerinas, firemen, veterinarians, I wanted to be Jewish. In class, I sat at a table because I went to this hippy-dippy alternative private school where we didn't have desks. We sat at tables because it was communal, man. I sat at this table with Hal Feinberg and Miles Bethenod, and they didn't have to come to school for Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. And they got 8 days of presents? Sign me up. So when Passover rolled around that following spring, I made my mom make all my sandwiches for school on matzah. And then in 5th grade, I had my very first crush on Robert Bloom. Thus began my infatuation with Judaism and Jewish men. I mean, I didn't want to be dunked in a lake. I wanted a bat mitzvah. I love seders. I want to do the hora at my wedding. And who loves gefilte fish? This girl. I do. Maybe I was just rebelling against my strict Southern upbringing. My dad was a Hebrew scholar, and an Old Testament God was his jam. I mean, he preached a very mean God. If you breathed wrong, you were sent straight to the fires of hell and damnation, or at least threatened with it. I mean, even until the day he died, my father would say things to me like, Megan, you want to go down in flames like so-and-so? Or, after my parents split, Megan, you want to go down in flames just like your mama? Maybe? Because everybody who was going down in flames looked like they were having a lot of fun. My dad preached a very scary God, and in turn, he was a very scary parent. And when the voice of your father is also representing the heavenly Father, well, you're fucked. And I was always, okay, well, look, this is the horrible part. I was always asking questions about God, Adam and Eve, Noah, the serpent. I mean, I wanted to know, Dad, why did it happen that way? Dad, did it really happen that way? Dad, did that actually happen, or is that just a story to get me to behave myself? Dad, what does God look like? Dad, does the devil really exist, and does he really have pointy horns and a tail, and can I please, please, please be him for Halloween? The curiosity in me was not well received, but I just wanted to figure things out, get to the bottom of it, understand it. I'm still like that. I asked my father when I was 7 why he didn't vote for Kennedy. Megan, we don't like Catholics, was his matter-of-fact retort. Furious, I flew back. Don't say that, Daddy, I like Catholics. To which I immediately went in the kitchen and asked my mother what a Catholic was. Even at age 5 in Mr. Perkle's Sunday school class, I had different interpretations. We were each handed a sheet of paper and crayons and were told to draw a picture of God. Every kid in class drew a robed and long-bearded fellow. But I drew a black sky filled with eyes, as many eyes as I could fit into that tiny piece of paper. Mr. Perkle looked at me with confusion. Well, what's that, sugar? He asked sincerely. Well, that's God, I replied. He's bajillions and trillions of eyes, so he can keep one eye on everyone all the time. Beautifully imaginative or weirdly big brothery? I still don't know which. In 8th grade, when I was 13, I read The Color Purple, and the second Shug Avery told Celie about her God, I was sold. Here's the thing, say Shug, the thing I believe. God is inside you and inside everybody else. God ain't a he or a she, but an it. I believe God is everything. Everything that was or ever will be. Then, green and sunshine yellow kitchen and announced to the family that I was no longer going to church, that God was everywhere and I didn't need a church to find religion, especially not John Hayes' church. From then on out, when anyone asked me what church I belonged to, I told them that I was a Meganist. So that's technically the end of my story, but I just wanted to add one more thing, because this Tuesday, July 11th, marks the 4th anniversary of my father's very sudden passing. So I just wanted to say, Dad, wherever you are, it was really complicated, but I love you very much. And thank you. Thank you.